Hey, Jeff Krieger, Executive Director for Minnesota Association of Townships. Welcome. Appreciate you guys being here, as always, of course. See, we have about, 26 people I see online right now. First and foremost, just want to mention again the annual conference coming up on October 14th and 15th. 14th is going to be all the breakout sessions. We'll have our keynote speaker, Braver Angel, speaking. We'll also have the evening festivities, the dinner. We're going to have an entertainment. We'll have some door prizes that will be given away at that time too. We are going to save the big prizes for the business meeting on Saturday. So we are going to make you come to both days, and in order to get those prizes. Business meeting, of course, will be on Saturday. I'll speak. Gary, a bunch of us will speak. Have our auditors there, and then we have. That's right. There will be a buffet, a breakfast buffet as well for Saturday morning, and so you can find a registration form that'll be in the inside. I think the middle of the Insider magazine, or you can also find it online too on our website, mntownships.org. So please feel free to give us a check out. I hope to see all of you there. It'd be wonderful to have a big showing. I know even pre-pandemic, the attendance for the annual conference has been pretty light, and I've been doing some meeting back in the 70s, 80s, and when we had the annual conferences then, we still had a lot of township officers, and so that our membership really hasn't changed all that much because it's just townships. And but we used to have about 1,000 people show up at our annual conferences. And but lately, from what I've been seeing, the last 3 to 5 years before COVID, we've only been at about 300 to 350. And last year was virtual. We had about 90 people show up, and I get it. People were sick of virtual, and we were too. So I'm definitely glad to that. Give you grace on that. But we really do want to come back and have everybody get back together. Networking, that's what the whole thing is about, networking. Get to meet your fellow officers, find out what he or she is doing that could help you in your township. And but we are stronger together, and that's what we need to do. And so I'm hoping we can continue with that. We all just got lazy. Yeah. Pat, I can speak for myself too. I was, I'll definitely include myself in that camp as well. But now that I'm ED, I'm obligated to go. So no, but I do hope that I want to go. I do hope that you all come. One thing that we've been told or has been suggested by officers that they want training, and that's what you're going to get this year. We have all kinds of training. We have people from the state auditor's office coming. We have our own trainers coming. Lawyers, of course. You see Graham up there. Currently on the board, and we have Braver Angels, conflict resolution kind of people. These are the things that you guys need to have, and I really want you guys to listen to their messages, and it's going to be some good stuff. So we're pretty excited about it. Enough about the annual conference. We are going to have L&R in the spring. We're going to have the day at the Capitol. It's either going to be February 1st or 2nd. This is a conundrum that the board is considering right now, whether it be a 1-day or 2-day event. History tells us that it's been a 2-day event, but there has been suggestions to try and trim that down to 1 day. And so we're going to do a cost analysis. And obviously, 1 day is cheaper than 2. But if you people, you the members, this is what we're doing it for. Want one or the other, you got to speak up and let us know. And so we want to make a big showing there too, not just the annual conference, but at the Capitol. We can make a huge presence if all of our people show up. Oh my God, it could just be amazing. I'd love to see that. I would absolutely love to see that. Four Corners training. I don't know if Lori's on call or not, and but I do see her. If I'll let her talk about that later if she wants to. I think that's coming up starting on October 31st. I am told that costumes are optional if you're going there for the October 31st training. But maybe she can have a prize for the best costume, whoever does come in costume. I don't know. I'll leave that up for her. The last thing I have, and I'll pass it off to Graham. It looks like Graham drew the short straw from Steve today, and it's going to be speaking for the lawyers. Is I have a little bit of somber news or sober news. And that is to let you guys know, and maybe you've already heard, but there are rumors out there. There is an actual attack that's going on our association. We have people who are just hell bent. It's the only word I can think of, is just to disrupt, cause chaos. There's even talk of these. It's a very, very small group. I should preface that it is a very small group. We want to contain this thing. They're throwing out wild accusations, defaming accusations against the leadership of Matt and against the Matt organization itself, and absolutely ridiculous. I fume when I hear about this. We have a fantastic organization. We have great people that are here. We are the grassroots. And when you think about it, our business model is not all that complex. So you think about, we do training, we do legal, or training education, we do legal advice, we do lobbying, we get the events together that cause you guys to come together and to see each other. And of course, we also have the insurance arm that we do. That's it. I mean, how we do it can be complicated because of the different people that we work with and so forth. But I think we do a pretty darn good job of it. And it really pains me to have this group, and they're township officers. And that's a part that really kills me. And that these are township officers attacking their own association. And what I'm asking of any of you people, if you hear of any rumors or any other of these lies that are being spread, I'd appreciate you contacting myself, Jeff or J. Craig Krieger at mntownships.org, or at the info@mntownships.org. Let us know what you've heard and who you heard it from. And because we want to put these rumors to rest, and we are going to fight this vigorously, and we're not taking this lightly, and it's very concerning, and it is very serious, and so we are taking it seriously, and legal action if necessary to take care of this. Mary, what kind of accusations Mary's asking, that I'm not going to get into, just for the fact that there is pending litigation going on with this. And actually, it's ongoing. It's not even pending anymore. It's ongoing litigation. And that's how serious this stuff is. And they're impugning a lot of people and the organization as a whole. Like I said, Matt is going to fight this vigorously. This is your organization. And we're not going to take this lying down. We will protect it. If you do have any other questions, I mean, obviously specifics, I'm not going to go into just because of the litigation. But if there are any concerns that you may have, just know that, we're going to do our best, and we have the best on the case to dispel this, to get rid of this. So everything that they have thrown out there has been investigated, and just because we have to do our due diligence too, there's nothing to any of this stuff. So that's all I have for that, and I guess for my whole part. But I will toss it over to, did I lose Graham? Uh-oh, there he is. Like a magician. All right, thanks, Graham. I'm going to pass it off to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Morning, everyone. So we have a couple of things to talk about today, or I do, I suppose. We've gotten a couple of questions in particular about investment-related issues, and also about sort of hazardous housing and abatement-related issues. So I'm going to just talk briefly about each of those. And if anybody's got any questions, please don't hesitate to shoot a chat out, and we can go from there. So first, I'm going to talk about the investment issue. So this one comes from Stanton Township, I believe. And what sort of produced this issue was they got an email from a financial advisor who talked to them about potentially investing in a CD. And now, in case you're one of those folks who, like me, was unfamiliar with that term, what they are is a certificate of deposit. It's a savings instrument that earns interest on a lump sum for a fixed period of time. They're not the same as savings accounts because the money has to remain untouched for that time. The deal is you put your money in, you get a interest out, but in the meantime, you can't touch it. And as a return, in return for that risk that you're taking on, you usually have a higher interest rate than you would for, obviously a savings account or something like that. Now, obviously, there are two big pieces to this. One of this is this financially a good idea? And I am not a financial advisor, so I would advise you pretty strongly to talk to one of those folks if you're considering something like that. But I am a lawyer, so I can talk about the legalities of this. So generally speaking, public investments are governed a lot more tightly than private investments, particularly in this state. And a lot of that procedure is going to be found in Minnesota Statute 118A.04. Now, Subdivision 1 kind of gives us the overall overview of when it is that we can do this and what it is that we can invest. And so it's worth bringing this thing out in its entirety. And that subdivision says, any public funds not presently needed for other purposes or restricted for other purposes may be invested in the manner and subject to the conditions further provided in this section. So what you need is funds that are not presently needed for whatever it is that they're earmarked for, or not presently otherwise restricted. And then you can invest it according to this list of things that is in 118A.04. And it provides us a pretty long list. So the first thing is United States securities. So government bonds, notes, bills, mortgages, other securities, which are instrumentalities of the United States. State and local securities. So something similar, but any security which is a general obligation of any state or local government with taxing powers, which is rated A or better by a national bond rating service. Commercial paper, that's allowed. Time deposits. Funds may be invested in time deposits that are fully insured by the FDIC or bankers' acceptances of the United States banks. High-risk mortgage-backed securities, that's permitted under certain circumstances. Temporary general obligation bonds. This one is for joint powers investment trusts, so it's a little bit, there are exceptions and there are procedures with all of these. So it's worth keeping in mind that this is just sort of a general overview here. Debt service funds, that's also permitted under certain circumstances. And so to answer the question as directly as possible, it looks to me like a CD is likely permitted under this subdivision 5 time deposit subdivision. Now, for something like this, I would strongly encourage you, if you're considering this, to talk to your financial professional and see if their opinion aligns with this. Because, of course, the legislature has chosen to use non-standard language here. So it's important to get, belt and suspenders advice on stuff like this, especially because, of course, you're dealing with public funds and you should be careful with these things. More to the point, getting somebody who can talk about your specific situation, pros and cons, is absolutely a good idea if you are considering this. There are also a few procedural requirements that are worth mentioning. If you guys end up deciding to go through with this, you're going to have to, before completing the initial transaction, you have to provide them with a written statement of legal restrictions on public funds. And the Secretary of State's website, they publish a form on this. So it's not, you don't have to draft one yourself or anything like that. But you have to provide them with a list of the legal restrictions, and they have to acknowledge that receipt in writing in order to handle the government entity's accounts. But it looks like, yes, this is probably possible, and it might be a good idea depending on your financial situation. So moving on to the next issue, one of the things that I've been seeing a lot personally since the last Township Tuesday is issues with problematic properties. So, you've got an old fire trap of a building, maybe it hasn't been maintained, maybe it's dilapidated, maybe it's just so unsanitary that it's attracting vermin or whatever, and you're thinking, hey, look, we've got to get rid of this thing, it's a public health risk, it's a public safety risk. Do we have the power to do that? The answer is yes, and the answer is found in Minnesota Statutes Chapter 463. Now, within that chapter, there are what I would characterize as 3 basic paths. all of which begin with a finding by the board that the property in question is, quote, hazardous, unquote. That's Minnesota Statute 463.15, subdivision 3. That provides us our definition here. Hazardous buildings or hazardous property means any building or property which, because of inadequate maintenance, dilapidation, physical damage, unsanitary condition, abandonment, constitutes a fire hazard or a hazard to public safety or health. So once you've done that, then the next way is the next step is to pick your path. Usually the easiest way is by consent. That process is outlined by Minnesota Statute 463.151. The governing body of any municipality may raise any hazardous building or remove or correct any hazardous condition upon obtaining the consent in writing of all owners of record, occupying tenants, and all lien holders. The cost shall be charged against the real estate as provided in Chapter 463.21. So if you go that way, then the cost is borne by the actual parcel, or at least that is the legislature's idea. This way is kind of nice because it avoids litigation and it avoids the possibility of litigation, really. Well, not the possibility. It minimizes the possibilities of litigation pretty seriously, because of course, if everybody's in agreement and you get that agreement in writing, there's not much left to sue about. But of course, we're in the government and people get upset about these things. So oftentimes you're going to find either you can't find the owners, or the owners aren't going to agree, or the tenants aren't going to agree, or the lien holders are mad about it. So what happens then? Well, there are two possibilities at that point. The second pathway is what's called eminent domain. So that's Minnesota Statute 463.152 subdivision 1. That says that, so this is a traditional power that's usually used for, so on the federal level, for example, if you know the Army needs a chunk of land for a particular base, the government can use what's called an eminent domain power to say, no, you have to sell this to me. The Minnesota legislature has chosen to say, like, all right, you can use this process for this particular thing. What they've done is they've specifically declared that cleaning up hazardous properties is a public purpose, and you are explicitly permitted to use this power to fulfill that purpose. Now, this is a very, very top level overview. Eminent domain is a pretty complex area of law, and we don't really have time to teach a seminar on it, because you really can teach a whole seminar on this. But mostly I'm just mentioning this because, one, if you try this, you should have a township attorney ready to participate in this process. And two, just so you know that this is a potential avenue that's out there. If you have this problem, I'm trying to get that little alarm bell, that little antenna to go off in your head. Oh, I've got a couple of options to deal with this situation. If you are dealing with a specific situation and you'd like to talk about it more detail, please give me a call. But okay, that's getting ahead of myself a little bit. So the third way, and I would say the more common way when you're dealing with a recalcitrant property owner, is through the order process. This is less complicated than eminent domain, but you're still potentially looking at a lawsuit here. So you're still probably going to want to look into hiring a township attorney potentially. It's got a fair number of filings. There's at least one hearing, including a presentation of evidence to the district court. But that said, this one is less complicated than eminent domain, so it's usually the cheaper option. And that's governed by Minnesota Statute 463.16 and a few others. 16 is the one that grants the town board the power to, quote, order the owner of any hazardous building or property within the municipality to correct or remove the hazardous condition or raise or remove the building. 463.17 sets out the sort of what the order has to look like. There are a number of requirements. The order's got to be in writing. It's got to specify what repairs are needed. It's got to provide a reasonable time for compliance. And it has to say if they don't fix it or file an answer, as in the answer to a civil suit, right? They have 20 days to file an answer or fix it. If they don't do that, then you'll make a motion for some reinforcement at the district court level. And that's governed by the Minnesota Statute 463.18. This order has to be served on people, so that the relevant people have to know that this is happening, which means the owner of record or their agent, if they have one, the occupying tenant, if they have one, lien holders, if they have them. So this has to be done in the same way as if you were serving a lawsuit. One of the reasons that it's important to contact an attorney about this. But if you can't find the owner, and in a number of cases, we've sort of been getting questions about, we've been dealing with properties that probably don't have owners. That's how, of course, they ended up abandoned in the first place. Then there's provision for that. And specifically, you can post a notice at the main entrance of the building. Once that's done, you file it with the county court administrator. If nobody answers, you seek a summary enforcement order. And then you proceed by default, which basically involves going to the district court saying, hey, look, here's our evidence that this thing is dilapidated, it's abandoned, it's a health hazard. Here's some photographs, here's testimony from, somebody who, maybe a local handyman, maybe somebody who's got some special knowledge about the area, somebody who can say, yeah, I know this property, it's not in good condition, it's a fire trap. We need to put it down. And then, the district court's going to make their decision. And if they do, then you get to pull it down. But at that point, it's also possible, and I feel like I should flag this for the other side to file an answer, and you're potentially in a lawsuit at that point, which is probably the main reason that it's important to contact an attorney specific to your situation before you engage in any of these processes. But this is just a very top level overview, just kind of trying to let you know that this process exists, give you an outline of the risks and benefits of each potential approach to this process, just so that you know that you do have options if you are faced with this particular set of problems, legally speaking. So, Pat Simberg just asked, using the order process, who pays? It's similar language to the the consent process. What it says is costs shall be charged against real estate as provided in section 463.21. So there are some requirements about that. For example, it's the assessed cost can't exceed 5 annual installments. Interest is capped at 8%. And there are some other things, but it's the same language. It's charged to the real estate. So, does anybody have any other questions? All right.
Pat, nothing really? I'm just kidding. I'm teasing you. Thanks, Graham. Lloyd, did you have something?
Do I have something?
Yes.
Boy, do I ever.
Spill it, girl.
Now, most of you that know me know that I like to keep things light at times. And I work from home remotely on Tuesdays. And I want to show you what is going on right now in my home. It's been a rough day already today, evidently. If you can see that, those are my 2 black labs taking.
Oh.
Evidently, I wore them out already. So, and this is a good thing. I try to do that when I'm on Zoom. Otherwise, they will be jumping up in my lap. Anyway, on to more serious things. Not really. Jeff talked about 4 corners. Yes, we are going to be doing 4 corners again. 4 corners. Starts October 31st up in Thief River Falls. As far as a costume contest, this is my costume. If you wish to dress up and attend, feel free. It is going to be in Thief River Falls, so if you're way down in southern Minnesota, the Halloween party might not happen. The letters were sent out via mail on Monday, and there will be a constant contact, and it will be on our website tomorrow. Heather, you're so funny. What I wanted people that don't have access to internet or emails to have a chance to get that letter before it goes out there on the website and constant contact. This time around, we're going to be doing things a little different. It's going to be a half a day, 8 to noon. From 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, we're going to be doing the local Board of Appeals and Equalization training for supervisors that need to be recertified. That's going to be an hour. And what that's going to be is just watching that training on the Department of Revenue's website. Then we'll be doing some questions. I have a little quiz that goes along with the training. And then we'll get you recertified for that 3 years or whatever it is. And then from 9 to noon, we're going to be doing some year-end processing, what needs to be done for year-end. Now this is it on the letter we sent out, it says it's for clerks and treasurers. Supervisors, I want you to know that you really should know what needs to be done at the end of the year. To make sure that your clerk and treasurer are doing what needs to be done. And if you have questions, they'll be able to answer them for you. So it's not just for clerks and treasurers. It is also for supervisors. There's 2 separate fees for this. Local Board of Appeals is going to be $30, and then the year end will be $40. At a lot of the sites, I will have another trainer with me so that we can answer any questions that might come up outside of what we're doing. I would ask that you stay away from any ARPA questions because Nicole is not going to be out there for all of them with me. And Nicole is, she's online here. She is our ARPA queen. And I want to let you know, Nicole, I really apologize for the emails this morning. I always transfer my phone from my office to my cell phone, and it has not stopped ringing since 8 o'clock this morning. It must be Let's Do ARPA Day in our townships. So I've been sending them on to Nicole. Nicole, if you need help, please reach out. So that's our training that's coming up. What else I want to go through is investments and CTAS. Graham touched on investments. He did the legal part of it. I'm going to do the CTAS part of it. Right now, I'm going to send a chat, and I'm going to have to share my screen. Right now, I'm going to send you a chat for the state auditor's office and where I got this information for investments, because I am not. Please, if somebody will let me know if they can see my screen and if you can see my cursor, my big pink cursor.
Yes, we can, Lori.
Perfect. So I'm going to open up CTAS. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the investment module. Also, anybody, Jeff, if there's any chats that come up or questions that come up, I can't see that right now. So if somebody could let me know and just interrupt me.
You bet.
Okay. So we're going to the investment module and we're going to go to investments. Okay. Now here's my investment list. Again, this is just fake data. This is not real data. But this is my test data. So here's what I have for investments. Now I'm going to add an investment. We have, $500,000 in our checking account, and we're getting $4 a month for interest. What can we do? Graham went through your options. My township in particular did open up a money market because it was producing more interest for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in an investment ID. If you see anything that's in blue, you have to have an entry in there. So the investment ID is going to be whatever your township wants it to be so that you know what this investment is. There is a limit of 10 digits in this investment ID. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put MM for money market. Now, if I have a CD, I'd put CD. If I have several CDs, I would put CD-1, CD-2. What type is it? This is a money market. Now, this type is not limited. So you can type out money market. You can do what I did here. Maturity date, this is optional. I would recommend it so that when you do your investment reports, it shows when these things are going to mature. It's always a good idea to have that ready if you do have investments at your monthly board meetings so that the board can see what's coming up and you can talk about it, reinvesting, what do you want to do with it before it actually matures. There's times when you go to a board meeting and the treasurer will say, oh, by the way, we had a CD that matured 2 weeks ago. What do you want to do? Let's try to avoid that. So you'll want to do that investment report for your meetings. Okay. So here's a description. Again, this is mandatory and it is whatever your township wants to say. If I can check. Okay, so we have 500,000 in our checking account. We want to put it in we want to put 100,000 in a money. You'd want to do more, but okay. We want to put 100,000 in our money market. This fund number here is what fund is this money coming out of? Do you have a lot in your general account? Do you have a lot in your road and bridge account, your fire account, whatever, wherever you want to take this money out of, that's the fund you're going to put in here. So we're going to take this out of our interest rate. I passed that, sorry. Interest rate would be whatever your interest rate is. Now this could change every month. It could change within the month. Your bank should be, or wherever you have this, should be letting you know when the interest rate changes. So this is we're going to take this out of fund number 100, our general account. When did we put this in our money market? What date did we use? Well, we used today. Today is the 20th. And how much? How much did we put into this money market? We're going to say we put 100,000. Okay. So we got that in here. We got our money market in our investments. We're going to save it. So what I love about CTAS, it's going to tell you if you did something wrong, it's not going to let you save it. Oh, you little booger. I'm going to have to do this again because CTAS is being mean to me. What happened was I backspaced too many times. Now let's see if it'll let. I'm going to get out of CTAS. Yes, I want to go CTAS. This is what happened to me yesterday when I was trying to go through this. Is it says start CTAS all over again. So I'm going to start CTAS all over again. My internet connection is unstable. Oh, there's a shocker. All right, investments. We're going to add an investment. All right. Now, finally, yay. See, now don't feel so bad. I don't know everything about CTAS, but I'm doing my best. Okay, so we did that deposit. Here is our deposit for our money market right here. Well, what happens when you do a deposit is it's going to automatically do a withdrawal, and the investment module automatically will create a disbursement. And that disbursement is going to come out of whatever fund you took that money out, whatever fund you used in that investment. So we see here we have an ID 88. That's in our disbursements. Well, we're going to have to go to our cash and we're going to have to clear that investment that we just did in order for that to come out of our general fund and for us to balance with our bank. Okay. So we cleared that. We're going to get out of here somehow. So now we're a month down the road and we have some interest to add. Okay. We're going to add an interest. We're going to add interest to this investment. Now in the manual, in that chapter, there's something on accrued interest. I've never used accrued interest. So that's something that will need to be researched. Can you use more than one fund on a CD? Yes, you can do more than one fund. What you would do is you would distribute it here in your deposits. So if you did that $100,000 and you wanted 50 out of general, 50 out of road and bridge, whatever, you would do all of those entries before you save it to add up to that 100. Because you can see down here, this is what our total in our investment. I can't because I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can't. So hopefully that answered your question. Now we're going to enter some interest. Okay. So we're going to enter interest, 1001, and we got $100, not $1,000. So now our total investment is $100,100, and that should match what's in your on your bank statement or whatever you're getting for your investments. So we're going to save that. Now, this is where I get some phone calls. Okay, because what happened was you added that deposit into your investment, and what happened with that $100? It created a disbursement. Okay, you're not going to balance with your checking account. So when you add a deposit, add interest to an investment, you need to go in and you need to create a receipt, because it is money that the township did receive. So when you have interest, it's a two-part process. You add that as a deposit in your investment, and you also need to go in and create a receipt. Now, somebody's going to say, why can't I just void that disbursement? That's money that the township received. You need to account for it. So to offset that automatic disbursement, you need to create a receipt. You have to write out a premium receipt. Yes. So that you have that for your Board of Audit, and the board can see where all these receipts are coming from. Okay. That's investments. That's starting investments. That's adding interest to an investment. Yes, the 100,000 came out of the difference between that question is, did the 100,000 come out of the general fund then too? Yes, the 100,000, you transferred that to open your investment. Okay, so you don't need to do a receipt for the initial setting up of the investment, because you want that automatic withdrawal to show that it came out of the general account. The only time you'll need to do this two-part process is when you do a deposit or when you get your interest. Okay. Now, when you do these, remember, you have to go back into your cash and you need to clear anything that's over here. From, I don't have the right dates. Let me do this properly. It's going to be a disbursement. So here's our $100 deposit. Okay. We want to make sure we clear that. I didn't do the receipt, but the receipt would show up in your deposits and transfers. So you'll want to clear both those that you balance with me. Okay. Does your interest add to the total 100,000 then? We have interest as separate checks from the bank, so our original amount never changes. That, it sounds like, Pat, that would be accrued interest. And that would be the separate entry that would be in over here is what you would do. This is not going to add to your total of what your investment is. Until you actually accrue that accrued interest, until you actually get that put into your investment. And that's, to the best of my knowledge, that's what happens. Again, I have not looked into the accrued interest, but it is in that chapter on the auditor's website. Okay. So that's setting up an investment, that's putting a deposit in. Okay, what happens if we need money in our checking account from our money market? That's going to be a withdrawal. Okay. And you're going to want to use whatever fund. If your general fund is getting low, and that's where you want to put it, that's where you're going to use that fund down here. Okay. Automatic withdrawal, when you enter it in the investment, it's going to show in your current value of that investment. And then it's going to do a receipt automatically into whatever fund you put in here. So then that investment's going down, you put that in that fund, you clear those transactions, and then you'll balance with your checking account and you'll have that money in your checking account. Okay. That's really as far as I want to go with the investments. It can get complicated. If you have questions, please reach out to us. Investments and indebtedness. Those chapters, I really recommend that you go through. I don't know if I still have it. Yes, I do. No, I don't have. I'm not sharing my screen. But when you go to the CTAS manual and you go and you look for these individual things that you're looking for, they actually have screenshots of what you're going to see on CTAS. That CTAS manual on the website is just, you don't want to download the whole thing because I guess it's pretty big. So you're just going to want to do what chapters you're interested in. Jeff didn't mention this, but we are looking at the Matt University and we're trying to get that up and running. I am still working for those of you that were in Deerwood in May and we lost power and we didn't get to do CTAS. I really am still working on that. I am still working on that. It comes to a point where I'm in the middle of editing and I get pulled away from something and it gets put back on the back burner. Do I have dates for the Four Corners? I do. Let me just pull it up here. I know it's October 31st. We're going to start in the northern part. I am going to find my letter here. Okay. October 31st, we're going to be in Thief River Falls. November 1st in Bemidji. November 2nd, we're going to be at the Cotton Town Hall in St. Louis County. And November 3rd, we're going to be in Grand Rapids. Of course, we have elections that next week, so there won't be any training. November 14th and 15th at the MAT office. And we're going to have two separate sessions. We're going to have a morning session from 8 to noon and an afternoon session from 1 to 4. And then we're going to go down to, not going to have any training during Thanksgiving week. I'm sorry if that upsets people, but you know, November 28th in Caledonia, way southeast. November 29th in Rochester. November 30th in Mankato. And December 1st in Pipestone. Now, we don't have actual addresses for these venues yet. I do believe Alex will have them when we put it on the website and constant contact. So hopefully we'll have those venues. It's pretty much where we've been before. We had to find something new for Caledonia and Pipestone. And I think we're going to be going somewhere different in Bemidji. We have an opportunity to go to a community center where one of our townships holds their township meetings. So that'll be nice. And I think that's all I got. Anybody has any questions? If you're wondering if my dogs are still laying behind the chairs, yes, they are.
Thanks, Laurie. I appreciate your work with that, as well as Nicole and the other trainers too. You guys do just a huge service to our officers, clerks and treasurers alike. So if there's no other questions, I just want to make one last appeal about our annual conference to all township officers. What I would, in light of what I had shared earlier regarding this small rogue group that wants to cause a disturbance, we are suspecting or expecting them to show up at our annual conference. And at least we're trying to make plans for that because we have a feeling that they want to try and make a disturbance. I would love it if we could get as many of our supporters. We know that this is a small group. We know that 95+% of our officers support the association. If it's not 98, 99%. We know that, we feel that, we hear that all the time, and we so appreciate it too. But if we can just load up our annual conference with you supporters, and we can shut these other people down, and I'm hoping that they don't show up, but we're trying to make every plan and contingency and have it in place in case they do, and that would be a great one for us if we can have all of you good folks there. And I understand that there's a challenge for some, whether it be financial, whether it be your location, your time, your job, all that type of stuff. Totally get it. And but if you are available and do have the opportunity, would love to see you there. So, and I'll leave it at that. Any other parting questions or comments from anybody? Four Corners, is there going to be a separate or split off group for non-CTAS software? Lori.
Yeah, Jan, I'm going to go through both. It's going to be CTAS. CTAS, as far as year end, is very quick. What this is going to be is W-2s, 1099s, the state auditor's report. How do you close out your year end? What do you do? What do you need to do for your board of audit that needs to happen before your annual meeting? What needs to be what do you need to get ready for your annual meeting in March? Just an overview of everything that needs to be done at the end of the year.
W3s?
Heather, W3s are part of W2s. And you and I need to get together on that because there might be some issues as far as the work comp. Heather, I don't know, do you want to talk about the work comp audit and how that's going to change?
So this is something that I had mentioned before in the district meetings, if you guys were able to attend. We got flagged by the WCRA, which is our workers' comp reinsurer. And in addition to submitting payroll for workers' comp by January 31st, the townships will also have to supply a W-3 to verify that payroll. This is new this year, but it will be required every year going forward. So in addition to the payroll, the W-3s will be submitted electronically for us.
Okay, yeah, we'll go through that too in the year-end training. Yeah, we'll go through that. Question, will you record training in case we cannot make a specific date in our region for year-end training? Unfortunately, we're not going to be recording them. It can be part of it. I can put it on as part of the MATU on our website.
Yeah, it definitely be one of the topics for year-end for our Matt University. Yeah. And so people will see it then. We don't know when it's going to take place. Well, that depends upon Lori's sleep schedule. And
sleep, what is that?
and that. So but we'll definitely let you know of how that's going to be. Great question, though. Anything else? And remember too that Matt is going to be paying for your first year of Matt U fees. And so the $149 that covers your entire township, and remember, so after the first year, it will be $149 per township. That's not per officer, that is per township. So if you have 9 officers, all 9 are covered under that single $149 annual fee. It's very important to keep in mind, because I have talked to other people and that there's still some of that confusion, and I get it too. It's kind of unusual. So if you have 5 officers, or if you have 9 officers, it's the same fee. But that's what our plan is for that. But it's going to be fantastic. We're really looking forward to it, and it's not going to take over for in-person training. We know how important that is. I mean, for me, I need to have that I'm a visual learner, but I also need to have that in person. Doing a video, that does not always keep my attention. It's a great supplement or a complement to what the in-person training is. But that's what we're hoping to hit with on both angles to really help drive this home. And what we're also, one of our long-term goals, and Reno, I'll get to you in just a second, is that we want to have certification. It's not going to be in state statute or anything that's required, that kind of thing. But just when you do get like a new clerk or new treasurer coming into your township, we want to have something where they can say, "Hey, I'm now certified, and that I've learned what I need to learn." It's not that it ends, that you never have to learn anything else, but at least we know that you have all the basics down and should be able to do your job. With, of course, help from our trainers if need be. So, Reno, you got the floor.
Well, I know, Jeff, that on that Matt U, you're going to be talking about that quite a bit yet before everything's all said and done with that. So,
Oh yeah,
I'm watching the questions there too, and folks just need to know that there'll be a lot more information come out there. Because I know this has been talked about at the board level, and folks, I'll tell you right now, if you've signed up for any training classes on the market out there, they're expensive. I know Lori and we've signed up for some there, they're a couple of $100, and that's just recorded. And so, and that's just one session. So they are expensive. But one of the other things too, Jeff, with COVID kind of backing off a little bit and not being the primary discussion topic, some folks up in my district wanted to know if these Tuesday calls, if there's key areas of discussion, if they could be documented on the website so they could kind of see ahead, what was going to be covered, and that would give them maybe a little extra motivation to get on the call that day, because the information that's been coming out from Graham, and that's touching on areas that affects all township officers. And so we appreciate that as a MAP board, but also too as individual township officer. So thank you.
Thank you, Reno. Great suggestion. That is a great suggestion. So I will talk with Kristen and also Steve about that. But thank you, Lori.
Yeah, just a note too, Jeff, this Matt University is not mandatory for townships.
Thank you. Yes.
Some townships think that this is going to be the only thing they have access to. It's not mandatory to be part of it. But it'd be nice if folks would at least look at it that first year, since there's no cost, to see if it's actually going to be good for your townships. And thank you, Jeff. It's not going to replace in-person training. Pat, when will Matt U be up and running? You weren't listening when Jeff said it depends on how much sleep I need. I'm just kidding.
Our goal, Pat, is to have it. The earliest will be November 1, and that's on Heather's timetable. Heather Tidmore, our agency manager. My original goal was January 1, start out calendar year. But I think some of that depends on how origami is coming, and so there's still some balls in the air that we need to kind of get sorted out a little bit for that. But to echo Lori's point, I appreciate that, Lori. Yeah, Matt U is not mandatory. First year, everyone will have access to it. The way this works, they'll still have to sign up for it. You still have, I think you still have to put in a credit card that would be for renewable charges. but there's no charge that's going to be put on your card for that first year. If you don't want to continue with it, you just cancel that. As simple as that. And but everyone still has to have their own password, so that's why we can't just give a blanket. Boom, there you go. Everyone still will have their own password per township. That'll be their special password for that, and it's limited by how many officers you have. So we need to know what your number is. And then so that we can make sure that we have, if you have 7 officers, that all 7 can have a password and have that be available for them. So auto renew is the bane of my existence, Pat. Well, Pat, you're also certifiable, so I don't know if I really need to take that into consideration. So I'm teasing you, of course.
There
But,
was a question. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
go
Jeff.
ahead.
There's a question from Mary. What will this include? What will that include? And I'm thinking you're asking what kind of training? We're going to try to touch everything we possibly can, I think.
Yep, it's going to be legal. It's going to be clerk. It's going to be treasurer, supervisor. I want to have road in there. I want to do the whole gambit. Where my understanding, Alex is going to be our guru for Met University. She's the one who's going to be strategizing and putting things in their categories. And it's going to be like a takeoff of Netflix, from my understanding. So you can click on your video. Elections, yes, ma'am, definitely elections. And so you'll be able to go to the category that you want and then choose what video you want to watch. You can watch them as many times as you want. There's no limitation. One of the reasons that I love this idea is that because we have currently some on our web, but every time you watch a video, it's $25 a video. So right now you watch 5 videos, and that's among all your officers. You've already paid for your annual membership. And so, and we're going to have a much broader, it's going to take us all year to really build up our library, which is one of the reasons why I love the fact that we're giving this first year to you for free. And but then even after that fact, we will still have current topics, and because the law changes all the time, different ways of teaching things, changes. So we want to make sure that things do stay current. So we plan on doing this continuously. But great question. I was wondering if the in-person workshops would continue, since those are, oh yes, we definitely want to continue in person. That is in such demand, and people just, the overwhelming support that we get from our officers asking for that is tremendous. And Lori can attest, every time she has 4 quarters training, she puts it out there, her classes are full, or at least they're very filled. And which is just wonderful. And obviously that just teaches us that we need more of this. And that also brings me back kind of to the annual conference. As I've stated, our attendance has been falling off. And if the annual conference is something that township officers don't want and or need or find value in, if we need to do something else, we may need to consider that. And so if you do want to have annual conferences, please, your attendance is the best way to vote. For that too. So, but like I said, I'll get off the attendance for annual conference now. But any other questions? Great questions. Hearing none. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Thanks, folks. Great to see you again. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Take care.